Well, what we expected to happen happened. Taijuan Walker stinks. Stinks, stinks, stinks. We knew it. We knew it was going to happen. We allowed it to happen, and it happened. Heel Mode Phil is coming out today on the Phillies. Phillies fans, Phillies media. Eagles picked 14 of their 17 roster spots on the practice squad. We'll talk about that and the Eagles roster today. Ed Kracz will be joining us from Sports Illustrated at 8:30 to talk about the Eagles roster. Guys, trending the AM. Not a positive trending in the AM. On Edge of Philly Sports, we're live in 60 seconds. And a very good morning, everybody, and welcome to Trending in the AM right here on Edge of Philly Sports. Please, if you could do me anything today, hit that like button, that share button, that subscribe and follow button. Smash those buttons. It is free to do it. It's free to support content creators, and it's free to have your opinion heard. We might not agree on opinions today. We might not agree on opinions regularly, but what we will do is have your opinions heard here on Trending in the AM. That's the number one goal of this show, to give you a place to have your opinion heard. Because if you go out on social media and have an opinion, you get bashed, you get laughed at, you get whatever. And I'm getting to a point specifically with this intro here. And it's that the Phillies suck. I'm Phil Stiefel, your host at Beard of Knowledge on all social media platforms, guys. We got lots to talk about today. At 8:30, Ed Kracz, Sports Illustrated, SI.com. Will be joining us to talk about the Eagles roster, about the Eagles practice squad, the 53-man roster, etc. So stay tuned for that great conversation. Ed is one of the best beat reporters on the beat for the Philadelphia Eagles. But we got to start off with some Phillies talk. And what went down at Citizens Bank Park yesterday. And why the Phillies continue to trot Taijuan Walker out there game after game after game. And why fans overreacting and in the moment, passionate, frustration isn't allowed by the soft-ass media and fans of Phillies Nation. Look, yesterday, heat of the moment, there being no hit. They're down 10-0. And I tweet out, they're going to get swept by the Braves now after this momentum killer. And you know how many people said, I'm nuts, I'm crazy. It's just one game. It's no big deal. Hell, the entire 102.5 Fox the Gambler crew, all of them, from Sean Bryce down to Ron Croyle, Mark Henry, Luke Arcani. Dude, you're an idiot. Go get some weed, smoke something, do something. You're too insanely crazy right now. No, what's crazy is that so many people in Phillies Nation think it is okay to put out what we had to watch. If I was a Phillies fan that spent hard-earned money to go to that game yesterday and sit in 95-degree weather, if I was a Phillies fan and I did that, I dropped $60 a ticket, parking, $30, $40, whatever it is this year, money on concessions, just for two people to go. It probably was $200, $300 yesterday. Dude, I'd be marching right up to the gates and being like, I want a refund right now. Unfreaking acceptable. But it's okay. It's a long season. No, you just sent a message to your team. The Phillies almost got no hit yesterday, because the players on the field knew that with Taijuan Walker, they had no chance. I wouldn't be shocked if the players were trying to send a message to Topper and Dave Dombrowski and John Middleton. Get this guy off our team. If it's acceptable for him to be out there doing what he's doing, then why should we have to worry about anything? Sick and tired I am of the Phillies, but I'm sick and tired of Phillies Nation. Oh, don't worry about it. It's just one game. A scheduled loss. It's okay. We crushed Doc Rivers for scheduled losses. Nick Sirianni would be already fired in this city if he did yesterday. What happened? But it's baseball. It's okay. It's no big deal. I know there's a lot of comments. I got to get to them already. Yeah, F. Walker, absolutely. How could he show that face in the locker room? Absolutely. Thomson should have left him in for all 9 innings. Complete game, 175 pitches. I don't care. Yeah, exactly. What's up, Bruce Bryce Harper? Oh, that was very bad yesterday. Absolutely. Pathetic. Pathetic that they think it's okay that we had to watch that last night. Pathetic. 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 Walker's not good anymore, and maybe never. Yeah, I was the one that said it on this very show the day he was signed, that it was a bad signing, an unnecessary signing, a signing that was not going to work out. But I was crazy and didn't know baseball then. Were the Phils sending a message about not wanting to play in front of that washed-up clown? I think the players might have been sending a message. That lifeless batting yesterday was a direct result of who their manager put out on the mound. And then after the game, say, I don't know. We'll see what happens with the next start. Taijuan Walker saying, well, I did induce a lot of weak ground balls. I'm encouraged by that. That is the biggest load of horse crap that I've ever heard. Like, I just don't understand it anymore. It makes no sense. I'm sick of hearing the soft fans anymore say, oh, this is a scheduled loss. But when the Sixers have a scheduled loss, it's no bueno. It's no good. We hate Doc Rivers for it. Mark Henry out there telling me, well, basketball's 82 games, 162 in baseball. They're double important in basketball. That's why it's not okay. Does he even hear how stupid he sounds? And I love the Fox Gambler crew, Sean Brace, all those guys. I've had some of them on this show in the past. But the fact that they just think it's okay that what we had to watch yesterday, because it's just one game, is the biggest load of baloney being sold out there to Phillies fans. You want me to go smoke some weed to calm down because I'm overreacting to one baseball game? No. I'm overreacting to a standard that is being set by the team, the fans, and the media that yesterday was okay. It is not okay. This is not one bad start from Taijuan Walker. This is 4, 5, 6, 7 starts in a row that have been atrocious from Taijuan Walker. A guy that wasn't good enough to pitch, even though he's making $20 million a year in the playoffs last year. And you're going to trot him out there every day, every fifth day? A load of baloney. A load of BS. Now, I'm Phillies fans. I think you should all be pissed off. I know a couple of you in the comments are pissed off. But I'm talking about the majority. The majority of the people that tell me I'm nuts for being upset. That all I do is have hate for Rob Thomson. No. I want nothing more than for my Phillies to succeed. I want to be wrong about the Phillies. And yes, the Phillies aren't going to get swept by the Braves this weekend. We're only up 5 games and we got a 4-game series. We're not going to get swept. Yes, I was in the heat of the moment with that. But you're really setting a very negative tone by doing what you did yesterday. To me, that's a good sign that this team wants to win. Maybe. Phil, thank you for staying up for all Phillies fans. And Walker and Thomson are both big problems. Well, you're not getting rid of Thomson. Not right now. Not trying to correct, but effing 9 in a row. Yeah. Okay, 9 games in a row. My bad. Luke's listening. The fact that you're blaming, I have not blamed I did not blame Rob Thomson solely for Taijuan being out there. Okay? I've blamed Dave Dombrowski for it. Okay, Luke? For giving him the contract. I was the first person after that contract was announced saying it was a terrible contract, unnecessary contract. That Taijuan Walker was not a good signing for the Phillies. Okay, so I've been saying it since day one. And Rob Thomson out there, my problem with Rob Thomson and Taijuan Walker trying to put a positive spin on it and say, well, his velocity is up. We'll see. We'll give him one more chance. How can you look your other players in the eyes and say you're serious about winning when you're trying to trot this guy out there every day? Now, yes, maybe it's coming from up top. Maybe this is a Howie Roseman type situation where Dombrowski is telling Rob Thomson, you've got to throw him out there. And if that's the case, then Dave Dombrowski is to blame too. But to say that Rob Thomson has no blame for anything that goes wrong, I don't care that they got the best damn record in baseball. I don't. They don't play like the best team in baseball. Not at all. Why can't we criticize this team? We criticize the Eagles. We criticize the Sixers, the Flyers, the Wooder Dogs. And for every little negative thing or every bad thing that he has that happens. But when the Phillies do something bad, don't worry, it's not Rob Thompson's fault. Nothing is ever Rob Thompson's fault. And that makes no sense to me. I'm only upset because we are much better than what has been happening. Exactly. I want success. I want them to be good. I want to sit on this show and say, I was wrong. They won a World Series. I'm happy. They win another World Series. I'll probably cry right here on the air. But to say that everything is just fine and dandy, it's soft. Walker has gone through rough stretches historically and then all of a sudden finds it historically, but he has never looked this bad. I forgot who it was, but someone put up and compared Taijuan Walker's stats to Adam Eaton's stats from 08 or whatever. And I didn't think a pitcher could be worse than Adam Eaton, but he is. He was blatantly annoyed and over it after yesterday's game. Is that enough? Well, he didn't come out after the game and say that Walker's next start, he's not starting. He said, we'll see. Show some cojones, Rob. Send a message to your team. No, Walker will not be starting. What we'll do with him, I don't know, but he is not. All Rob Thomson had to do yesterday after the game is say, no, Taijuan Walker is not starting his next game. Plain and simple. We'll figure out what happens in the next day or two, but no, he is done. He is not in the rotation anymore. All he had to say. And you know what? I would have sat here on this show and applauded Rob Thomson for that. He absolutely could do it in the heat of the moment. Why can't he? Because I can't get passionate in the heat of the moment either. He can. He absolutely can make that kind of a statement. 100%. Walker sucks. And so, look, let it out, everybody, because there's plenty of people that aren't over it or that are okay with it. Let it out. Whatever you got to say. You got about 15 more minutes of Phillies talk before Ed Kracz joins us to talk Eagles, guys. So get all the frustrations about Taijuan Walker out now, guys. That first inning when Walker threw over the look on Bryce's face, you could just see it. I was driving home from work in the first inning or so. I got home about third inning from work, so I missed that part of it, Mike. But, yeah, it's not just his decision. I don't care. He can still say it. That sends a message to whoever is pulling the strings so that if Walker goes out there again, look, it's never Rob Thomson. Why can't anybody? Why can't you blame Rob Thomson for anything? Why is it everybody else's fault but Rob Thomson? What's up, Eric? Good morning to you. It's the Tobias Harris effect. I don't know. I would take Tobias Harris back on the Sixers before another start of Taijuan Walker in a heartbeat. What's up, K1? How you doing this morning? If I'm Tyler Phillips' dad, I'm calling Dombrowski and asking what the, yeah. You could have literally thrown anybody, literally any pitcher from the Phillies organization yesterday. And even if they would have gotten blown up, it would have been a better feeling, a better result than what we had yesterday. You send a message that this is not acceptable. But no, you send a message that it is acceptable. Yeah, a lot of people. A few people said. I shouldn't say a lot. A few. I said that it shouldn't have been a lock that he was the manager coming out of the World Series. That's what I thought of him. Philly should have lost Mitchie Poo. I mean, you're turning 30 soon, Mitch. MK, Mitchie Poo. It's time to lose the 69 jokes. You're going to be 30 years old here shortly. It's time to lose the jokes. I just don't understand. Yeah, exactly. I mean, I make childish jokes saying poo too, but whatever. I just don't understand why everybody is to blame but Rob Thomson. And why the Phillies feel it's okay to keep trotting him out there week after week. Taijuan Walker, that is. And sell that bill of goods to its fans. It's an embarrassment. And I guarantee you, if I was at that game, I would have asked for a refund. I would have gone up and said, this is unacceptable. If they were calling that game an expected loss before it was played, then what's that say about management? 100%. And see, the thing is, Jose, again, we crushed the Sixers countless times under the Doc Rivers regime for these scheduled losses. But it's okay for the Phillies to do it for some reason. It's okay. It's a long season. And it's a load of horseshit. I think I made more of those jokes at 41. Gotcha. I just like to give Mitchie Poo a hard time. This whole staff is to blame, and Rob is the chief. No, it's not Rob Tom's fault, Mike. It's the player's fault. In other sports, it's the manager's fault. But in baseball with the Phillies, it's not the manager's fault. He can do no wrong. And again, I like Rob Thomson. Rob Thompson's a nice guy. Rob Thomson is not a manager, a head coach, a leader. And I don't care. I know they got the best record in baseball. Do they after yesterday's loss? I don't even know if it's still the number one record or not. But it's okay because their record's good. The best. It doesn't matter. Their record doesn't tell the whole story. Their record better be the best. When you got a $300 million payroll, when you got superstars at 6, 7, 8 different positions, when you got Trey Turner, Bryce Harper, JT Realmuto, when you got future Hall of Famers, Zach Wheeler, Aaron Nola. I wanted to come on today and talk. I had a thread going on Twitter that Aaron Nola might be the most underappreciated, underrated Phillies pitcher of all time. That's what I was planning on Phillies conversation today. But no, we got to talk about the Phillies and how K1 did some research. The Dodgers now have a better record. So they're not even the best team in baseball anymore. Some of them, they're the second best team in baseball. I don't care. Yesterday was pathetic. World Series championship teams don't do yesterday. They lose games. It's a long season. You can't win all 162. I get that. But in losing, you can still win sometimes. And yesterday was not a good loss. Yesterday was an atrociously bad loss that could have been avoided. Completely could have been avoided. I would have demanded, I know what you're trying to do, and I thought about it. I thought I was going to use my Zach Wheeler shit to segue into it. But no, we're going to hit the over on it today because we'll have Ed Kracz join us in about 10 minutes to talk Eagles. I know he's a Phillies fan too, so we might get his opinion on Taijuan Walker too. Walker's getting benched in the playoffs. If Walker is still on the 26-man roster tomorrow, I'm telling you, I'm going to lose my shit. Plain and simple. The playoffs are better set up for the 2 seed, if that's any consolation. I don't know. I don't care. I'm not thinking about the playoffs right now. They're 5 weeks away still. I'm thinking about the message yesterday sent to that locker room. The fact that those players knew they were going to lose before the game started. And what does that tell your players? What does that tell your team when you're saying it's okay that we are going to lose a baseball game? Exactly. I want a World Series. I want a championship. This team is still talented enough to win a World Series. But what's going to hold them back? Taijuan Walker ain't going to pitch in the World Series. Playoffs? You kidding me? Playoffs? We're talking playoffs? Yeah, I could do that one. This is the exact same reason why Walker wasn't in the rotation during the playoffs. Yeah. I know he's not going to pitch in the playoffs. You know that. I know that. Everybody knows that. And yeah, your fifth starter can't be an ace. But your fifth starter, what World Series team over the last 10, 20 years is trying out every single fifth game, someone throwing up Taijuan Walker numbers, but his velocity's up. He's inducing some really good weak ground balls. A load of horseshit. See, now, there's that kind of overreaction. That if you would have said that on Twitter yesterday, mister, you're an idiot. Go smoke one. Stupid, stupid, stupid. You can't handle a World Series. I love it. I love it. I don't know. I just think there's a double standard when it comes to the Phillies and Rob Thomson and the Phillies as a whole compared to everything else in this city sports-wise. You can't tell me that if something like yesterday happened with any, hell, I bet you the Water Dog fans, the Wings fans, the Union fans would not put up with that kind of shit yesterday. They wouldn't. But it's okay because in baseball it's a long season and that happens. I really truly believe that the lack of offense yesterday, what they have 3 hits yesterday. Didn't have their first hit, till the 8th inning yesterday. That was a message from the players that we don't want to play behind Taijuan Walker. They knew they were going to lose, so why put any effort out there? If the leaders of this team aren't going to put effort into changing that spot in the rotation, why should we care? But no big deal. It's a long season. It's okay. Load of horse shit. They have to scratch and claw like everyone else. They played well early. You don't know what you're getting, and they win because we tune in anyway. Not letting them ruin my day. Well, they ruined my day yesterday. Actually, they didn't ruin my day yesterday, Nooms. Social media ruined my day yesterday by thinking that me overreacting, me having a passionate plea, a passionate feeling wasn't acceptable. I don't claim to be an expert. I don't claim to be a reporter with sources. I have a platform. I've built a following. And I've built it off of passion and honest, in-the-moment feelings. And if you were a Phillies fan yesterday and you did not have any negative feelings during or after that game, then I don't know what to tell you. You just don't care. What ruined my day? I had to go. My day will be ruined in about an hour and a half when I got to go to work too. I'd rather stay live here all day with you than go to work. But that hasn't happened yet. And I don't know if that's the case or not, Jose. That's just my feeling. That's what I feel after seeing their lifelessness on the field, at the plate. Someone saying Bryce Harper's, look at first base. I didn't catch that in the first inning. Somebody's got to do something. Somebody's got to show some passion. Somebody's got to lead by example somewhere, somehow. The Phillies aren't doing it. The manager isn't doing it. Somebody's got to do something. Somebody's got to say something. No, it's a long season. It's okay. It's no big deal. I'm so sick and tired of it's no big deal. It's a long season. Sick and tired of it. What's up, little G? Good morning to you. Freddie Defo in the house. Or, sorry, not Defo. True Evo. 14-3. We'll do record prediction on Monday. That's when I'll give you mine. We are performatively ruining our own days by following the Phils. Absolutely. K1? Absolutely. But again, my day was ruined by the social media people saying it's no big deal. Relax. Go smoke one. I had like 4 people tell me to go smoke one yesterday because I was too upset that the Phillies lost the game. Go Eagles. Exactly. Go frickin' Birds. And the Eagles did set their practice squad. Well, most of their practice squad. Ed Kracz will be joining us in about 4 or 5 minutes here to go over the Eagles practice squad, to go over the Eagles roster and the outlook on the Eagles roster. And maybe I'll get him to show a little frustration with the Phillies too. I work in a server treatment plant. I don't know what smelled worse, the Phillies or the plant. Yeah, it probably didn't smell too good. Man. Kind of ironic, the team that got its ass kicked and then no-hit us in the next World Series game almost did it again. The difference is we won 2 this time. We won 2 out of 3 against a good Astros team. It happens. I was told that yesterday. You still took 2 of 3. It's okay. No. I was glad they didn't get no hit. So I was going to say, when was the last time a World Series team got no hit? I didn't feel like researching that to find out. I guess it was the Phillies in the World Series. Phillies don't have that. Oops, what happened there to my mouse? What the heck is my mouse doing? It is bouncing all over the place. Phillies don't have that big of a window. That's an interesting thing. That's something I would have to think a little bit more. I think their window is pretty big still. Drew, you still got Wheeler and Nola locked up long-term. Sanchez locked up long-term. Harper, Turner still here long-term. You've got some really nice young pieces to get to. Guys, we're going to cut off the Phillies talk. I see everybody commenting. We'll catch up on the comments in a little bit. Joining me now on the I Have No Sponsor hotline from SI.com, Ed Kracz. Good morning, Ed. How are you doing today?
Hey, good morning, Phil. How are you?
I'm doing better than the Phillies are doing. I know I have you here to talk Eagles, but, man, that was pretty pathetic yesterday. I saw you even tweeting about the Phillies yesterday.
Yeah, man, it was just became unwatchable. You know, I had to click out for a few innings there, and I turned it back on, and they were still being no hit through 7 innings. So I watched it from there, and I saw them get 2 hits. I think they finished with, but just a terrible performance. You know, you want to go into the weekend against the Braves with some momentum, and they had it. They had won 4 in a row, and then they just lost everything they had when they got whipped 10-0. That's not a good sign going into the weekend, if you ask me.
You know, it's funny. I said that exact same thing on social media yesterday and the beginning of this show, that it was a momentum killer. And
Yeah.
Eagles fans would never accept what went down yesterday. But Phillies fans seem to be like, it's okay. It's no big deal. They won a series. It's no big deal. It's a message. It's a momentum killer. It's a locker room killer, what went on yesterday. And it wouldn't be acceptable in the Eagles offices, in the Eagles locker room, or to the Eagles fans.
No, I absolutely agree. You know, baseball's a little different. You play every single day, 162 games. So, you know, you get a chance to get right back at it today, and you hope to kind of, stem the bleeding a little bit. Football, you have to sit and wait for a week before you get a chance to do that. So there's plenty of more time to kind of diagnose what's going on during football season because you have a week. You know, baseball, you're right back at it the next day, and they still have that 5-game lead, and this is a huge series. And I guess it's encouraging. The Phillies have their top 4 pitchers lined up to face the Braves. But I think the Phillies need to win 3 out of 4 in this series to kind of say, okay, look, we're going to win this division and send the Braves out of here down 7 games.
Yep. All right, so let's get to the Eagles. That's why you're here. Excuse me. Another fantastic training camp by you covering the team. I love the follow. I always not just saying it because you're on the show, but I always talk about you and a couple others, my favorite reporters that are there all the time. The vibes are rolling high right now as we're getting set we're just over a week from the first game of the season. The roster's been set. Most of the practice squad has been filled out now. I believe there's 14 of the 17 names locked to the practice squad. What were your biggest thoughts when the initial 53-man roster came out and then the first few names were signed to the practice squad yesterday?
Yeah, my initial thoughts were like, who's going to back up Cam Jurgens at center? You know, to me, that was one of my storylines going into summer camp is it's important to identify the backup center because Cam's I think is going to be a really good player. He's going to make his own name in this game. He's not going to be Jason Kelce. And remember, Kelce started 156 straight games. He hasn't missed a start since the middle of 2014. So is Jurgens going to be that? That would, I don't think so. Not many people are that, that sort of Iron Man. But so you have to find out who's going to be your backup center. And a lot of people I know say Landon Dickerson can do it. The Eagles, they don't like to. If there's somebody that gets hurt, they don't like to mess with 2 spots. So you'd be messing with 2 spots if you move Dickerson to center and then had to find someone to play his spot at left guard. And Dickerson, he doesn't get many reps there. He hasn't taken any this summer. So who's going to be the backup to Cam Jurgens? I know we're kind of nitpicking here, but I'm concerned that something happened to Jurgens and he did miss 4 games last year. Who's going to come in at center? And then, another thought I had was, tight ends. You're only keeping 2. Last year they kept 4. They've tried to replace Jack Stoll, and now they got him back to the practice squad. But they spent the summer trying to find that 3rd tight end. And I really liked what E.J. Jenkins did, and they were fortunate, I think, to get him back to the practice squad. But 2 tight ends was a little light. And then when you look at some of the other positions, they have 11 defensive backs, which seems a lot. And I think James Bradbury kind of messed that number up a little bit. They probably should only have 10 on this roster. But it was an incomplete roster when they put that 53 together. Like Howie Roseman said, in the short time after they sent that roster into the league, he said that we're incomplete and we have a lot of work to do. And they added some guys to the practice squad that makes sense. So, we'll see where they go from here.
You mentioned James Bradbury. I want to get back to center in a second, and some of those other positions. But you mentioned James Bradbury. A lot of people wanted James Bradbury off this team, and I was never in that camp. I always kind of felt that, because of the contract, there's more value in keeping him at least to start the season than not. Do you think it was solely a contract reason why they kept him, or do you think he did show enough in training camp to warrant that last position there at safety or defensive back, whatever you want to call it?
Well, I think that, he's a proven veteran, and, that carries some weight in the organization, especially when you look at, some of the guys that are going to be playing in the secondary, guys like Quinyon Mitchell and Cooper DeJean, 2 rookies. And then you have Isaiah Rodgers, who hasn't played in over a year, obviously, because of the suspension. You have Keely Ringo, who's in his 2nd year. So you're pretty young on that, in that secondary. So I think the fact that he's a proven veteran kind of added some value to keeping him. I know they tried to trade him also. But, they're not just going to give him away because they like that veteran presence he brings. I mean, James is a good locker room guy. He's a very stand-up guy. He's good with his teammates. He's willing to help. And I think there's value in that as well. Young guys can kind of lean on him and pick his brain, even though he might not, have a starting role. He's played 9 years in this league. He's had a lot of experience. He's played in the Super Bowl. So that adds value to Bradbury. I'm not saying he's going to be here all year, but that I think pushed him over the top. It hasn't always been pretty in that transition to safety. He's still kind of learning it. So you don't want to have to see him kind of come in and play there right away. But he could even be a game day inactive, Phil, if he's still around when the Eagles go to Brazil next week. He may not even be active for the game because he doesn't play special teams. So, they're going to probably try to continue to try to see if they can find a taker. But right now he brings value as far as his veteran leadership goes.
You were talking about the offense and tight ends and the backup center position a few moments ago. Were you kind of surprised when the roster came out, the initial roster, how defensive heavy they went as a whole?
Yeah.
I mean, what was it, 22 to 28 defense offense? I mean, because Howie Roseman is known as an offensive guy. He wants to attack the offense, have the best possible offense out there. I was kind of surprised just as a whole how little offense they kept versus defense. I know they went heavier on offense on the practice squad, but that's the practice squad, not the 53. Were you kind of shocked by how lopsided the numbers were there as a whole?
Yeah, that's a good point. 28 defense, 22 offense, and Howie Roseman isn't the only one that likes to play offense. Jeffrey Lurie loves offense, and he owns this team. You wonder how much of an influence Vic Fangio had, in that cut down room where they made their cuts and their decisions. You wonder how he influenced this roster, probably quite a bit. I mean, listen, the guys that they have on offense are, really good. Obviously, I'm a little concerned with the depth on the O-line. Not sure I'm really in love with that, but the Eagles have Jeff Stoutland, and he can wave his magic wand and turn lemonade into lemon, or lemons into lemonade, whatever the saying is. So you hope that he can kind of get these guys ready to play. I was a little surprised they didn't keep Brett Toth. He can play all 5 positions on that offensive line. Terrific versatility, but I guess the question is, how well can he play those 5
You mentioned him. What, did I read a report that he was there yesterday trying out, quote unquote, for the Eagles, which means basically maybe he's the 15th guy on the practice squad?
He could be added to the practice squad, yeah, and I would be surprised if he isn't. I mean, because again, who's going to be the backup center? Toth worked there the whole camp pretty much. Dylan McMahon obviously did, but I'm not sure Dylan McMahon's ready. He's a little light. He's still finding his way. I thought he did some good things, but there were times where he was invisible and didn't do enough. So, I'm not sure that they would be comfortable keeping him active against Green Bay, or elevating him from the practice squad, I should say. And if something were to happen to Juergens, you're throwing him out there against Kenny Clark. And I just don't think that's a good matchup in the Eagles' favor. You need a little more experience there. So, we'll see what McMahon can do, as he develops here on the practice squad. But yeah, defense, there's a lot of defensive guys. And I think like we talked about, 11 defensive backs is a lot. You're probably keeping 9 or 10 in a more of a perfect world. So that skews the numbers a little bit. And you look at the offenses, like who else would you have kept on the offense? Maybe you would have kept Anais Smith if he didn't come down with this injury. Maybe he would have been the 6th receiver. But they did get Paris Campbell back to the practice squad, so he's available to be elevated on game day if necessary. I don't know where else they would have gone. They kept 3 quarterbacks, which a lot of teams don't keep 3 quarterbacks. A lot keep 2. They only kept 3 running backs, but they got Ty Davis Price back to the practice squad. Again, tight end, only 2. That kind of messes up the numbers too. Like they usually keep 3 or 4. So that messes up the numbers too. I think we'll see the numbers kind of come in a little more balance, once the season starts and, things start to happen and guys start to, figure out their roles, and we'll see how they play. So I think that'll come down a little more in balance as we go forward here.
Do you think Howie's pretty much done though with the 53-man roster, or do you think there's still more, like we keep talking about backup center or tight end, all these different positions? James Bradbury might not even be here, the whole season. Do you think Howie's still, I know the waiver wire thing has been complete. They didn't, get any claims or anything like that. Do you think he's still trying to figure out and tinker with the actual 53-man roster and keeping his ear to the ground, maybe making some phone calls to kind of improve some of these positions?
Well, Howie always has his ear to the ground. Whenever there's somebody available, the Eagles are always mentioned as a possibility because Howie's always calling. He's always checking in. Yeah, I mean, listen, I don't foresee anything happening here in the near future, but, Howie's not going to stop listening, and he's not going to stop making his calls. He's going to see if they can find, an upgrade, as incremental as it may be. He even said that if we can find an upgrade, no matter how incremental, they're going to do it. So I don't know what's out there or who's willing to part with a player at this stage of the game. I mean, usually you see these draft picks or trades and they're for draft picks. We saw Ernest Jones move from the Rams to the Titans. I thought that was a great deal for the Titans, having only give up a 5th round pick. So we've seen some low level quarterback moves. Malik Willis goes from the Titans to the Packers, but I'm not sure that we'll see anything here in the near future from Howie as far as the 53 goes.
So we've talked about some other positions, but another position, like you mentioned, Ernest Jones, and everybody's concerned with the offensive line and different positions. I've been concerned this whole entire offseason with the depth on the defensive line, tackle and on the edge. Losing Hassan Reddick, which turns out probably was for the better anyway, with what's going on there with him in New York. But, you've been there every day at practice. You've seen everybody at training camp. Are you concerned at all with the rotation and the depth on the defensive line, interior and on the outside?
I think when you look at, who they have on that defensive line, it's young. You look at the edge position, I'm not sure it's enough. They have there, they're really counting on a big season from Bryce Huff. They're hoping he can continue to ascend. He had the 10 sacks last year. They hope he can hit that again this year, if not more. But, I think Vic Fangio does a good job with his disguises of defense. I think he likes the versatility of some of these players. I think he can line Jalen Carter up on the outside if he wants to. He can line Milton Williams up on the outside. I like Thomas Booker as a defensive tackle, his 3rd year in the league. I mean, I think he does a really nice job with pushing the pocket from the interior, but he's another guy you can line up on the outside. We've seen Devin White, the linebacking core, Zach Bond and Jeremiah Trotter, they line up on the outside of the defensive line too, and they're kind of a designated pass rusher on certain plays. So I think the versatility and some of the disguises that Fangio is capable of giving offenses can help compensate for maybe some of those big names that I'm just not seeing on that defensive line. Obviously, Jalen Carter's a huge name, right, and Jordan Davis is a big name. But you don't have that Hassan Reddick, that guy that's going to give you 11 sacks, every year. So who's it going to be? But I think Fangio has enough. I mean, he's been doing this 40 years. He's got enough in his quote unquote toolbox to kind of give these offenses different looks, and you're not going to know where different guys are coming from play to play. Offenses are really going to have to prepare to play against the Vic Fangio defense. And I like some of the pieces he has to move around the chessboard to get guys in certain positions to create mismatches.
Yeah. I mean, talking about Hassan Reddick leaving, I've been concerned this whole camp, well, more so the preseason games, because I originally thought this was going to be the Nolan Smith breakout season. And there's two different theories. Either A, he's just trying to get snaps and that's why he's playing so much in the preseason, or the other theory where, maybe he's just not good enough yet and he's still a work in progress. Do you think Nolan Smith can change that narrative about him here early in the season, get on the field, and maybe be that guy that kind of picks up some of the slack of, Hassan Reddick's, loss?
Well, again, I think the Eagles are kind of counting on it, but he is still a developing player in his 2nd year. He won't admit to it, but I think he had some surgery done with his shoulder in the offseason. He never makes excuses. He loves to play. He didn't care that he had to play, 20 snaps or so against the Vikings in the preseason finale. I mean, that he just wants to play, and he certainly could use the reps. I mean, if you're a developing player who you're counting on, you want to get him out there as much as possible. I thought it was telling when Vic Fangio said during camp that he needs to get more physical at the point of attack. He really needs to, and that's what I like about Jalix Hunt, by the way. Not to get off track here, but man, that guy is so physical at the point of attack. He'll knock somebody backwards. Now, he might get stopped in his tracks after that initial punch. He still needs to get better with some of his repertoire of moves. But, if Nolan Smith had that kind of physicality, at the point of attack, then he would be a double-digit sack guy easily. So he needs to get better in that aspect. And I thought it was interesting Fangio pointed that out.
Yeah, no, absolutely. I just, I love the Jalix Hunt, name drop that you had there. I thought Jalix Hunt was going to be one of those guys that wasn't active on game day. For a while, I thought Jalix Hunt would be one of those guys that he was such a developmental project that he wouldn't be making any factor on this defense over the first season completely. But, he's definitely proven his worth and proven that he's earned a right to be out there. And he does play the role in a Vic Fangio defense pretty well because he can also drop back into coverage. He can do a lot of different versatile things there. I think that's very interesting. I also think you mentioned some of the linebackers there. I forget which reporter put it out there yesterday, but somebody was there at practice yesterday putting out that even Nakobe Dean might be pushing for more playing time, even a starting role on this defense at the linebacker position. It's kind of crazy to see that one off season, the cornerback room, but also the linebacker room, the script has kind of flipped really, really quickly on the quality of players there.
Yeah, and that's just the beauty of the NFL in general. You don't have these. I mean, the Chiefs obviously have separated themselves a bit, but your fortunes can be turned around in a space of one off season. And I think we've seen that with the linebacker group. I like this linebacker group better than what the Eagles had last year. I mean, I think Devin White's better than Zach Cunningham. I thought Nick Morrow was he was an average player. I think he's in Buffalo. I think he made that roster. I'm not 100% sure, but I like Zach Bond. I like Nakobe Dean. I mean, he's just been healthy, and that was a key storyline to me coming into the training camp was, can he stay healthy? Because he's had this injury history. He came in as a rookie. He was healthy, but there were questions about, the shoulder. Maybe that's why he dropped in the draft. And then, of course, last year he ruined his foot, had to have surgery. But he was healthy all summer long. And if he can stay healthy, as much respect as I have for Vic Fangio and his 40 years of service to this game, if he doesn't play Nakobe Dean, he's crazy. I mean, he's got to get Dean on the field.
So who snaps are Nakobe Dean taking then? Is it Devin White? Is it Zach Bond?
I mean, it could be a rotation. Fangio said that he's done that in the past where he's rotated guys. I think Devin White stays on the field. I think he's going to be the green dot. He's going to wear that green dot communication signal in his helmet. But I think Bond just went out of my head there. Dean. I think Bond and Dean, they can certainly be the rotational pieces on that outside, and it wouldn't surprise me if they are. So, it's not always who starts. The old saying goes, it's who finishes, and we'll see who's on the field in the fourth quarter when the Eagles need to make a stop to win a game, whether it's going to be Bond or Dean. And I think that's going to be a feel thing for Fangio as the game goes on. He's going to go with who's ever hot. We've heard Sirianni say that with his running back. So I'm going to ride who's ever hot. And then he never does. He'll give it to Sanders or Swift or this year Barkley. But, I think that's going to be the case at linebacker. I think Dean can really help this team. And I think Jalen, I'm with you on that. I mean, I thought the same thing as you did, is he's going to be a guy that's going to be inactive on game day, a guy that's going to develop and, kind of marinate, if you will, on this team. And he's come out and he's shown that, he could have a role going forward. Now, he's got this oblique injury, Phil, that's a little concerning, as does Dallas Goedert. These oblique things in baseball, we see it with players. They get them and they end up missing, 3 weeks, 4 weeks, whatever it is. So you hope that they can come back from this and, be ready for week one.
Yeah, absolutely. We're talking with Ed Kracz, SI.com, Eagles beat reporter. Real quick, as we wrap this up, the vibes are, like I said at the very beginning, the vibes are a lot different and the tone is very different. You've got Nick Sirianni in that CEO type role. You got Vic Fangio, like you've mentioned multiple times, old school, tough guy. You got Kellen Moore and his new offense. Do you think that this new coaching structure, gut feeling, you've been covering football and watching football for a very long time, do you think this new coaching structure is going to be able to sustain this year and things are going to definitely have a more positive outlook than last year's unfortunate ending?
Yeah, I do. I think they have, these coaches you mentioned, Kellen Moore, who I think is going to do a really good job with this offense, and Vic Fangio, of course. I think these guys they've done it. They know how to do it. I think players respect them. Even Doug Nussmeier, the quarterback coach, Kellen Moore's kind of right-hand man as Kellen Moore has grown in the coaching ranks. I think they're going to get a lot from these players. I like the DB coach, Christian Parker. I mean, these are guys that have all done it. Last year, the staff, we don't need to rehash it too much, but, Sean Desai had only been a coordinator for one season. Brian Johnson was new as an OC. So, there wasn't a lot of experience in the room, and I think that showed. But now you have it. I think it's really going to help, and I think it's going to sustain itself as the Eagles go through this season. Now, I'll say I hope the Eagles don't get off to like some 7-0 start and the pressure starts to build in it. I'd like to see, kind of a more, kind of a building type of a start. You win a game, lose a game, you start building towards where you can kind of hit your stride later in the season. And that might be what we see here with the new coordinators, with the new offense. It might take a little bit of time to grow. The new defense, obviously, with Fangio, trying to identify his personnel groupings and what kind of packages he can put in. So I think that part of the game is in good hands with the coaching staff, but I think it might take a little bit of time to grow together.
Taking a little bit. We don't have much time. I mean, a week from tomorrow is the first game.
Yeah.
Are you going down to Brazil? Do you got your passport ready to be stamped?
No, thank goodness. I don't. I've heard a lot of horror stories about the media shuttle and this and that. So, but no, I'm not going. I'm gonna sit this one out, and can't say I'm disappointed about that.
And that's crazy because who did I have on last? I don't remember if it was Chris Franklin or Martin Frank, and they were excited to go to Brazil. Yeah. And you're not so excited about a trip to Brazil.
No. Listen, I have to go to Japan later this year for my son's wedding ceremony. So, that's a 14-hour plane ride, and Brazil's probably 12 hours. So I don't need that in my life, as he's too long.
Anything over a 3-hour flight, and I'm freaking out. So
yeah,
I don't need any of that.
Right.
Real quick, we always end every interview, and I would get crushed by my regular listeners if I didn't ask it. Before we sign off with you here today, and I greatly appreciate your time this morning. You can only watch one movie for the rest of your life, and the people always need to know. It has to be either Goodfellas or Godfather. Which one you picking? But also, do not say you haven't watched The Godfather ever, like my last guest last week said.
I don't know who said that, but every time it's on, like if I'm, channel surfing and it comes on, I put the remote down and I tune in, Godfather 1, Godfather 2, to me, great movies. Goodfellas to me has its moments. I think might be a little bit slower in parts. And, I don't mean to sound sacrilege when I say that. It's a great movie. But I would put Godfather above Goodfellas.
There you go. I greatly appreciate your time this morning. Hopefully we have a great season. Hopefully we can get you back on throughout the season. But, continue putting out the great work there. Guys, make sure you're following Ed. And reading all his work over there on SI.com. He does a fantastic job. One of the top guys that covers this team on a daily basis. Ed, thank you very much for your time this morning, and good luck on the season this year.
Yeah, thanks for having me, Phil. I appreciate it.
Thank you very much, Ed. That was Ed Kracz right there, SI.com. Guys, we got lots of comments to catch up on here. I will get to them all in a second. I will literally not stop till we get caught up on comments. But real quick, I got to fire through some sponsorships as well, because having great guests like Ed Kracz and putting off this show, you got to have great sponsors. SherryTickets.com. No hidden fees. Price you see is the price you pay. They are the best. Family owned and operated since 1946. SherryTickets.com provides you the place to get all your sports tickets, concert tickets, theater tickets. Check them out. Great prices. But if you use promo code EOP10 at checkout, check this out. You'll get 10% off those already great prices. So go to SherryTickets.com. Don't overpay with the rest. Stay with the best. SherryTickets.com. And, of course, PhillySportsTrips.com. The Brazil trip is sold out. It's too late to book the Brazil trip. But you know what? You still want to check them out, because you go to their website, you sign up, you mention EOP, and they got so many other great Eagles trips you can go on. Tampa Bay, a bus trip up to New York to see the Meadowlands, see the Eagles, and Saquon's return to New York. The bus trip to Baltimore, where you'll be filmed for the horror movie of the century. Dallas Takeover Week in November. PhillySportsTrips.com. Check them out. We're trying to get Vince on the show next week to talk about the trip to Brazil, or not next week, the following week, to talk about the trip to Brazil. He's the owner of PhillySportsTrips.com, but stay tuned for that, guys. PhillySportsTrips.com. Don't miss them. We'll get to the other sponsors in a little bit. Let me try to fire through some of these dozens of comments that I've missed here. Let's see. Where's my last starred comment here? All right. So see how Kracz, icon. I knew the eye contact one. I was saving that as my first one right there. Let's get a real bait. Yeah. Baseball's over with, right? Baseball's over with today. The city loves getting frantic about backup positions, typically scared that something bad will happen. We've seen a lot bad happen in our days. That's why we're always worried about it. But if the team stays healthy, the Eagles, they're in a good spot for sure. I did not see this one. Sorry, Marcus Roseman, Jack saying, I don't know anything about this guy, K1. One of the only 2 of the 14 guys that were brought onto the practice squad, 15 because Brett Toth will be signed to the practice squad sometime today, that weren't with the team already. King James Bradbury. I agree with what Ed said. It's a smart move keeping James Bradbury for now. But I liked what Ed said also, that James Bradbury might be one of the game day inactives regularly because he doesn't play special teams. What if? Yeah. Andre, Sam, I am. I see a lot of people from the Eagles media talking about Sam being next year's McCollum. Because McCollum, was a camp standout last year, made the practice squad, and now he made the regular roster this year after they developed him for a year. Maybe Sam follows that same suit and makes the team next year. I thought that was an interesting comment from him and from other people. Yeah, Nick is the guy who can turn lemonade into lemons. Yeah, I caught that too, Eric. I would have gone with water to wine, but that's just me. With the game calling, Tyrion Davis Prince is no Kenny Gainwell. Well, no one is. No one as good as Kenny G at all. Did we hear anything on Rosemary Jack saying? I don't know much about him other than he had a decent camp with Washington. I don't know much about him, and I did not see these comments till just now, so didn't get to ask about him. Look, if Rosemary Jack Saint has to play for the Eagles this year, that means something drastically goes wrong. That means there's a drastic injury or a drastic problem. So you don't want to know or learn anything about him, in my opinion, if that makes sense. I already have a question in the queue about sorry. I was trying to focus and maintain eye contact with Ed Kracz, listen to what he says. It's a very important thing when interviewing, to listen to the person answering the questions. So that's what I was trying to do. Bryce Huff will get 10+ sacks. I hope so, Anthony. I think he can, but I'm not 100% confident on it at all at this point. And we talked about, Jalix Hunt, and we talked about, Nolan Smith. We didn't mention Huff at all in the interview there, but, I can say it. Lots of rotating on offense this year. Fangio soup. Rotating on defense. There's not going to be much rotation on offense. The offense is pretty set in stone. Backup center. What if we need Toth? What if Bradbury has to play? McKee or Pickett? Oh, my. Only. Yeah, I get what you're getting at here. Well, look, first and foremost, I can't relax when my face is covered. Hi up there. There you are, Rick. After what I watched with the Phillies last night. But, I get it. Relax. But there is always a but. And we've had our heart broken so many times in Philadelphia sports, Rick, that's why we're like that. Devin White played his way out of Tampa. Why does Fangio think he'll be any different here? Look, I think the linebacker crew is a very interesting storyline because somebody said yesterday, I forget which reporter, that he's getting the feeling that Devin White won't be starting week 1 in Brazil. It'll be Nakobe Dean. And I know Ed Kracz said that Devin White will probably have the green dot, but let's not forget last year in camp, before he got hurt, Nakobe Dean had the green dot. So they have confidence in Nakobe Dean. They just got to keep him healthy. That's the only question. The Philadelphia Eagles team is going to have an amazing season. Enjoy it. I enjoy it. Doesn't mean I can't. This goes to the Phillies talk as well. Like, in the moment, passionate feelings is what we have. Clint Hurt is a great D-line coach. The flourish. Yeah, I just think that there's, on the outside, there's some question marks. That's all. Hunt looks good enough to make a difference against backup O-line. That's a fair point. He was whooping up on backups, but in practice, he was going up against Eagles ones, and he looked good there, so there's some of that. Fangio makes eye contact. K1, you never miss an opportunity, do you? I think we will be fine. I think we will get a nice streak. We should see. We'll find out. Don't get on a plane. Is that what blew up the Delta plane? Was it a Boeing? I don't know. Something blew up on a Delta plane the other day. Not sure who this guy is, but wow, he's got a very scared mentality. Geez. Ed Kracz. Ed Kracz is fantastic. Ed Kracz is one of the best. He is the Eagles reporter for Sports Illustrated. He's been covering the Eagles for Sports Illustrated. I've known him for 4 or 5 years. I've had him on this show plenty of times. One of the nicest, most level-headed Eagles beat reporters there are out there. No hot takes, just basic reporting. Nobody pointed a few weeks back when Jordan Davis let it slip that people from the front office was coming down and causing confusion with the defense. I didn't even hear this. I didn't hear this. A connoisseur, respect. Yeah. Yeah, Ed is a man. I like that. I think we go 4-0 or 3-1 before the week 5 bye. I don't know, Duck. Monday will be Labor Day. We'll go through game by game on that schedule. And I will make my official prediction on Monday. But I think that tough start of that schedule is very, very difficult. I'll put it up on the screen again for anybody that hasn't seen it. You go Green Bay, Atlanta, New Orleans, Tampa. Green Bay is a hot team, rising team. Atlanta has a very easy schedule, but with us in week 2. New Orleans is always solid. Tampa's beaten us 2 of the last 3 years in the playoffs. I haven't really heard much about Tampa. We got 3 of our first games against the NFC South there. It's kind of weird the way that came out. I think this team has some problems down early on. Cherry tickets and the bus trip to Baltimore. We might lose 2 out of the next 10. Man, I wish I had that confidence as you, Duck. And it doesn't say that. It's not saying that I don't think the Eagles are going to be good. I think the Eagles win the division. I think they're one of the top 2 or 3 seeds in the NFC. I think they make a run. I just think the schedule's a little bit more tough than people realize. I think there's enough. There's not any great, like, super uber dominating teams on our schedule, but there's a lot of really good teams or good teams on our schedule. There's very few bad teams like the Carolina. We got Carolina, week 10 or 12 or something like that. Like, we don't have a lot of teams like that on our schedule this year. Slot wide receiver out of University of Georgia had a good Senior Bowl. Oh, so he's another Georgia product. We're just like the Georgia Bulldogs of the North. Yeah, the practice squad, real quick for anybody that doesn't know, the practice squad, Oren Burks is back, Paris Campbell's back, Davis Price, Nick Gates is back. Nick Gates and Dylan McMahon, they could play that backup center role. I believe Brett Toth will be signed today. Will Greer's on it. Gabe Hall, E.J. Jenkins, and Jack Stahl. I did see somebody comment Jack Stahl earlier. He is back. Andre Sam, Brandon Smith, the linebacker's back. And I don't know who this other guy is, Vakalahi. I don't even know who he is, really. I think he's their international guy. I think. I'm not positive on that, but yeah. Tristan McCollum going to become a fan favorite in the city real quick. Yeah, I hope so. I love the story, Make the practice squad last year, develop, make the squad this year. It's a good story. And I love a good story. Huff will be double-digit sack guy. Again, we hope. There's no guarantee there, though. Absolutely. We do now have 4 tight ends. And Howie Roseman is one of the best at manipulating the entire 70-man roster, plus injured reserves and everything else. So basically, E.J. Jenkins or Jack Stahl are going to have the Britton Covey role this year, where they start on the practice squad, they get elevated, and once they run out of elevations, they get added to the roster or cut. All the old heads choose Godfather. Only millennials choose Goodfellas. That might be an accurate statement of all accurate statements right there. Nakobe Dean going to have a great season. Out of all the people you've named that you think you're positive on, Rick, Nakobe Dean's the one I want to have the best season out of them all. You weren't following or watching the show last year, but I had so much hype and hope for Nakobe Dean last year before he got hurt in training camp. Like, I just remember sitting on this show after the first training camp practice and talking literally for 30 minutes about Nakobe Dean being awarded the green dot with the ones and how hyped I was. I wanted Nakobe Dean in the first round of his draft. And when we got him in the 3rd round, I was just like, this is amazing. And then he just couldn't stay healthy. So I want nothing more than Nakobe Dean to have an amazing season this year. The Olds vote gets split between. Yeah, he did split it. He did mention. I didn't throw in Godfather 2. He mentioned Godfather 2. I still say Godfather 2 is better than Godfather 1. That's just my opinion. Who doesn't know who? Exactly. Ed Kracz is one of the best, literally one of the best in the business. I would listen and read Ed Kracz content 10 times over ESP or any of the hot take artists that out there, Dan Sillyman or anything like that. I'm in for 11, 12. I have them probably at 11, Duck. Probably. I've rotated between 10, 11, and 12. I'll probably fall on 11. I'm going to start working on the schedules off the air today. I'm going to predict every team's schedule or record, and then we'll go game by game for the Eagles on Monday. Maybe I'll have my entire NFL record predictions done by tomorrow's show. I hope so. Tough schedule is a good thing. Builds the character of this team. Agreed. 100% Rick. Philly Bulldogs. That's right. That's what we basically are. Lake Neen is like Mailata. Is that how you say it? Lake Neen? It's like Mailata, Australian rugby guy. Yeah. And you get to stash a guy on a special roster spot with the international exemption. I forget what they call it officially, but he's a developmental project. So that's good. Did not know he was Australian, though, so that's good. Our double CDs like the Notorious B.I.G. album, yeah. Gen X chooses Goodfellas. Is the international guy that they're training up to take left tackle just in case they don't want to pay Mailata or move him to right tackle. Interesting. 11-6 regular season, 4-0 in the playoffs. I love, you say this every single week, and I love it, my man. 4-0 in the playoffs. Makes me so happy when people say that. Love it. Philly saying 10-6. So what about game 17? What about game 17, Philly? Are they going to just skip? We're only predicting through week 17. We're not predicting week 18's game. Just saying. Philly still stuck on, old school, 16 game seasons right there. You know what's old school? Dolan's Bar in Ridley Park for 65 plus years. They've been the quintessential Irish American dive bar in Delaware County. Great food, great times. You never know who's going to show up there. DolansBar.com, 24 East Sellers Avenue, Ridley Park, Facebook, Instagram, TikTok, Twitter. Go in there, check him out. PJ and his crew, let them know you heard about him right here on Edge of Philly Sports, trending in the AM, and start pushing hard for Trending in the AM live. Bloody Marys and football right here at Dolan's Bar, guys. Check that out, guys. You're watching Trending in the AM right here on Edge of Philly Sports. Please, if you haven't done it already, hit that like button, that share button, that subscribe and follow button, that retweet button. Do that for me, please. I greatly appreciate it. It means the world to me when you guys do that and share this show out. We still got Baby Mailata. Yes, Mailata will be here for. I think Mailata will be here for a very long time. Could make that Goodfellas like the Chronic. What Sandman would make that? Yeah. That's right. Dolan Bar. I was wondering why we didn't try it again with a rugby player since Jordan was such a success. Look, I don't think anybody will ever be able to have the success that Jordan Mailata had when I'm talking about coming with no football experience, never watching a football game, never playing football, and turning into an all-pro player. Literally one of the best left tackles in football. Like, that's a story that's not a Hallmark movie. You're not going to get a Netflix-released movie on Jordan Mailata's life. Like, that's a major motion picture with The Rock starring as Jordan Mailata. That's what it is. So there's, I don't, but you can find these gems maybe in rugby and whatnot. So we'll see. Yeah, he's really going to be confused when they go to 18 games exactly. Which I don't know when the next CBA is up, but yeah. Exactly. Phil forgot about Dre. Dre who? So Johnson, the punter, for our international player for a while. Baby Mailata is the new Australian guy we got this year. Oh, is that what they're calling him? Okay, gotcha. Confused. There's 17 games in a season, Philly, and you predicted 10-6. That's where the confusion is on our end. Were you injured at work or something? Did you get hurt on the job? Do you need a workers' compensation lawyer? Well, if you do, we've got the best on retainer here at EOP, David R. Cherry of the Cherry Law Firm. Workers' compensation, motor vehicle accidents, personal injury, criminal law. Call the best in the state of Pennsylvania, David R. at 610-565-0300. Go to cherryinjurylaw.com. Make sure you mention EOP. Make sure you mention Trending in the AM. Again, he will fight for you and get you what you deserve. Again, David R. Cherry's number is 610-565-0300. Or you can go to his website, cherryinjurylaw.com, fill out a form, and go there. Guys, let him fight for you and get you what you deserve. David Archerry. Goodfellas is 50 Cent Get Rich or Die and Trying album. A lot of anticipation only because it was co-signed. Miniseries on ABC, Australian broadcast channel. Who's playing Jordan Mailata in the movie? Is it The Rock? Is he the one that's got to play him? I mean, he's got that Samoan dynasty. Someone else from the Samoan dynasty going to play Jordan Mailata? We know The Rock can sing. Jordan Mailata likes to sing. I got to ask Jordan Mailata if there was a movie made on his life, who he would like to play him. And I see all the cherry bombs coming in. I see him. I'm sure they will produce that show Down Under. Yeah, exactly. Rock playing a Jordan Mailata and Paul Hogan as dubbed voice actor. No, just let The Rock do it. Just let The Rock do it. Let him do it. Phil hit that right dead middle at 9. Is it 9? It's 9:10 now. I don't know what's going on there at the time. But the overhit. Notice missed his back today. Okay? I see you, K1. See you. I got you. Okay? There's too many comments to catch up on to be too hard on it. I see missed his back today in the comments. He wasn't here yesterday because the under hit yesterday or 2 days ago and he went broke. But I guess he got back on track. He got a win and he's back at it today. But yeah, guys, you're watching Training Aim. We're talking Eagles. We're talking the practice squad. We're talking expectation. We'll kind of dabble in this to end the next 20 minutes or so. But also we've got Phillies. We were riding high and emotions at the beginning of the show talking Phillies before we had Ed Kracz join us. Even Luke Arcani, who I think it's funny. I call Luke Arcani out, and he popped up in the comments. I love it. Love to see it. We can still get back to Phillies if anybody is desperate to still talk Phillies. They're there. It's there in the comments. It's fine. You're allowed to. I get it. But if you want to keep going, Eagles. The question in the title of the show is, because this roster is very top-heavy, there are questions at the back end of the roster, but is this roster right now better than the roster we had in 2022? Take Miles Sanders off, add Saquon Barkley. You lose Jason Kelce, but you got Cam Jurgens. I love that Ed Kracz is concerned about Cam Jurgens a little bit, just like me, staying healthy and performing. He's still got a lot to prove. I'm very, very glad that someone else said that other than me. I can't see anyone in the comments. Maybe everyone. You are Nooms. You can't see them because Nooms, you're on my purse. I can see it on my backup screen here. You're commenting on the Trending in the AM YouTube page. Most people are commenting on the Edge of Philly Sports YouTube page. So that's why you can't see everybody. Just so you know. That's what it is. It just depends. Most people watch on Edge of Philly Sports. I have the backup channel, which is my personal channel that you're watching on. So that's the difference there. Just so nobody blocked you, Nooms, just so you know. It's just where you just like Rick on Facebook can't see the comments from YouTube. You can only see the comments from the site you're watching on. Then just to explain it to you. Jordan Mailata is the luckiest man alive. I love Jordan Mailata. He's so perfect for Philadelphia. Dennis Hopper will play Jeff Stoutland, the man responsible for Mailata. Yeah. Who's responsible for getting Mailata to go to that international tryout where Stoutland found him? That is the guy that should be, important. Sorry, I was wrong. It was 9:10. Wasn't wearing my glasses. Yeah, I mean, this show's flying by. Philly's passion, heated. Great interview with Ed Kracz. It's a special one here. Say his name and he'll appear. I believe in K1. There we go. Phillies will take 3 out of 4 from the Braves. Rick, I wish I shared that confidence in you. I think a moment. Even Ed Kracz, an Eagles reporter, said it when he joined the show. That was a momentum killer yesterday. That was a vibe killer yesterday. I know you've got Sanchez, Suarez, Wheeler, and Nola. I don't know which order. All going in this series. The Braves have cut the division lead to 5 now. I'm hoping for 2-2. I'd like to see 3-1, but I'm hoping for 2-2. That way, division lead stays as is. But I don't know. I wouldn't be shocked if we go out there and lose 3 out of 4. We're not going to get swept. I know everybody thinks I'm some psycho that needs to smoke more because I said they're going to get swept in a heat of the moment, passionate plea yesterday because I was pissed off at what the Phillies did yesterday. I don't really think the Phillies are going to get swept, but I don't know if I see 3 out of 4. I think 2 out of 2 would be a win for me. Mailata was talking and coaching up Vakali on the sidelines. That's good. Mailata is not only a great story, a great player, he's a great leader. He does everything so well. Even when the vibes earlier in his career a few years ago were down on the Eagles, someone gets knocked down, he picks them back up. He's the first one there to grab the quarterback off his back and pick him up. He's the first one there to bring the team together. Have they named who the captains yet are on the Eagles? And if Mailata isn't one of them, I kind of feel like he should be. Here to protect and serve. This roster is better than 2022, mostly because of the 2 new. Like that. Well, see, I don't think the coordinators in 2022 were that bad. I know we crush Jonathan Gannon on a regular basis, but I would take Jonathan Gannon over Sean Desai, Jonathan Gannon over Matt Patricia. But Vic Fangio is a step above Jonathan Gannon. So that's good. And Kellen Moore, I don't know. Is Kellen Moore better than Shane Steichen? Shane Steichen was a pretty damn good coordinator. So they're better than last year's coordinators, but I don't know about 2022. We'll see about that. Is he? I missed that one. I don't even know. Wasn't even paying. That's okay. You can watch on whichever platform you want to watch on. I don't mind. And the backup channel is just backup. I always plan on doing more things, more separate shows and different kinds of shows. That's why I'm building my personal YouTube channel up, a little bit. I just haven't actually had time to do any more work, to do any more shows. Don't be scared of the Braves. Braves are a good team right now. They won 4 or 5 in a row. Braves are a good team, my man. Don't overlook the Braves. Yeah, I think we all figured that one out now. I meant better coordinators. Okay, yeah, I hope that's what you meant, Rick. But yeah, I'm comparing this roster to 2022 because that roster went to the Super Bowl. Last year's fell apart. I think last year's roster was pretty good too. The coaches is what fell apart last year, in my opinion. That was a lackluster Joe Hendry parody. The name is interchangeable. That was a perfect lob. I believe in K1. I don't know. I think I did a pretty good job with Joe Hendry. Dennis Hopper was better than Patricia. My sources tell me that Jordan Mailata loves. Oh my God. No. He probably does. He strikes me as a pineapple guy. He strikes me as an upside down pineapple guy. Brave, have the hot bats and throwing. Well, yeah. Anybody, no offense, Rick. I love you. But if you're overlooking the Braves right now, then you're setting yourself for a potential disappointment because the Braves are a damn good baseball team. I think that's a big part of being honest with yourself with a sports team is honestly looking at the opponent. And the Braves are good. Absolutely. They've won 4 in a row against the Royals and the Astros. I get it. I get it. 2 very good teams. But the Braves are a good team as well. And yesterday, I stand by it. Yesterday was a momentum and vibe killer. And the fact that management won't say blatantly out loud Taijuan Walker's done, the fact that they keep putting Taijuan Walker out there on a regular basis tells me in the locker room that unacceptable performances are acceptable. Just saying. What did the Indians have to change their name, but the Braves didn't? It's funny you say that. And the Redskins had to change their name. Just so you know. The Braves are allowed to keep going, and the Chiefs are still allowed to do the tomahawk chop. But everybody else had to change. I had this conversation with my wife, actually, recently. And I don't even know why. Oh, it was because she didn't know the Indians weren't the Indians anymore. She's like, who? When the Phillies played Guardians a couple weeks ago, she's like, who are the Guardians? I'm like, the Cleveland Indians. She's like, oh, when did they change their name? I'm like, I don't know, a while ago. She's like, why'd they change their names? I'm like, same reason why as the Commanders and the Washington football team. And she didn't understand. She's like, that's stupid. Not overlooking the Braves, just don't fear them. You could say they are darn good, but Phillies are darn better. Well, yesterday wasn't a darn better team, Rick. And yesterday wasn't just a bad game. Yesterday was a big letdown, a big momentum killer. That one loss yesterday outweighs the 4 wins in a row. Just saying. Mylod is not a psycho. It excludes that international Ponzi scheme known as pineapple pizza unless he's replaced by the Illuminati. Oh, man. Didn't Braves win the World Series without Acuna? They did. They did. Yeah, they did. Braves are good every year. They are. It's funny. Like, we're kind of in their boat this year. The last 2 years, they were great in the regular season, coasted to the finish line, and then fell flat in the playoffs. The Phillies had a great start and were great for a while, and they kind of coast into the finish line. I hope they don't fall flat. I hope I'm wrong about the Phillies. I hope I'm on this show saying, thank you, Rob Thomson, for helping lead us to a World Series. I'll be the first one to admit I'm wrong. I am. I'm always the first to admit when I'm wrong. I'm always the first to admit that a lot of what I say is passionate, in the heat of the moment statements. I'm that guy. I'm not some expert with sources. I'm not some X's and O guy breaking down all 22 film. I'm just a passionate fan with a platform. That's it. They don't give you. Dude, I still remember in the early 90s, the Greg Maddux teams, when they were in the World Series, they couldn't even sell out their stadium. What was it called? Fulton County Stadium? They couldn't sell out their stadium in World Series games. That's how little Hotlanta cares about baseball. When the film made the jump to YouTube's NXT, he destroyed the Chap 12. What? I don't get that one. Calling one loss a vibe killer is that fearful way of thinking. Got to change the way of thinking. It's not fearful. It's honesty. Thinking yesterday was acceptable, Rick, is what the problem is. Throwing Taijuan Walker yesterday and accepting that is unacceptable. If I was a fan and I had spent hundreds of dollars to go to the game yesterday and that's what I had to watch, I would have asked for a refund. Every Phillies fan yesterday should deserve a refund. I bet you David Archeri would fight for that refund. Outside of Atlanta, Georgia's a little sketch. Absolutely. For sure. Pretty much. Look who's back. Barbara, what's up, girl? Chiefs need to change that name. If the Indians did and the Redskins did, why don't the Chiefs or the Braves? Just asking. Cheap. Yeah, no. He's cheap because he hasn't just written a check to send Taijuan Walker away. Too many people fearful of the sky falling in the city. Be confident, be bold. Victory favors the bold. I love the line in general. Be confident, be bold. Victory favors, but I love the way you phrase all that. But it's not fearful sky is falling. It's we've been hurt, we've been broken, we've been beaten by our team so many times. Rick, 40 years of being a sports fan, my heart's been broken a lot more times than it hasn't. Yes to the chefs, yeah. Who are the chefs? Great googly moogly. Loving the eye contact, yeah. Thank you. Trying. I will always admit when I'm wrong. When it actually happens, I will let you. Exactly. I've been called by a few people, I've been subtweeted by a few people that I'm a flip-flopper. No, I'm passionate, and I admit when I'm wrong. I like to say my opinions evolve as games go on. I'm not a flip-flopper. I've been called a flip-flopper for other things, too. But that's another whole subject. A name I won't name. This is probably going to be the first time in years that MLB won't have a 100-win team. No dominant teams, Dodgers and Braves injured. I haven't even thought about that, Barbara. Are there no teams going to get to 100 wins, really? No, well, the Phillies are second best record. Yeah, no. It's almost football time. It is. We are 8 days away from kickoff for the Philadelphia Eagles. I feel the chill of winter coming. Bring on football. Dude, it was 95 freaking degrees. Where was the chill? Where are you that you're feeling the chill? Time to change the narrative. No more fearful losers. We demand winning. Well, that's what I'm doing. I'm demanding winning in this city. And because yesterday was not a winning effort from John Middleton down to the bat boy and the ball girl. It was not a winning effort yesterday. And works with Native American community in and around KC. They also kick them a bit of cash every year. So bribery works. My favorite season is the fall. Pretty leaves, nice fresh air, NFL. Yeah, and there's one day where we'll have all 4 teams playing at the same time. Love the shirt. Grew up on Widener Street in Philadelphia. Thank you very much. I'm a graduate of Widener University. Proud or not proud, I am. So it is what it is. Chiefs have a guy on their roster who nearly 2 killed people drag racing. Yep. I'm not expecting to lose, Rick. I am cautiously optimistic. I want to win, but I objectively look at every scenario and determine whether I think they'll win or lose. I do have passion in a lot of what I say, but I also do objectively look at every single thing. It's not expecting to lose. It's calling what I saw and what I think it will translate into. And I think what yesterday we saw from the Phillies will translate into a loss today. I translate, even though the Eagles lost last year at the end of the season badly, what they've done through camp in the offseason, to me, translates like a winning season. I don't expect to lose, but I take the losses and use that along with the winning to come up with my opinions. The new Marvin Lewis, or that was such a bad era in football, the Marvin Lewis. Well, create the atmosphere we live. Let's create a winning. I'm trying. I want it to be a winning atmosphere, Rick. Like I tell all Europeans who came to America in summer and loves the AC, you are welcome for AC, and you will need to thank Ohio specifically. Sandman, try to explain why others had to change, but not the Chiefs. Yeah, exactly. Every game is one game unto itself. No, Rick. Every game means something for the next game. There's a thing called momentum in sports, guys. It's a big deal. I don't care about the losses impact on the team. I care about charging full price for scheduled half effort. It's about, absolutely. Again, to bring this whole thing full circle, talking Phillies, talking Sixers, talking Eagles, talking Flyers, talking anything. What happened yesterday in Philadelphia with the Phillies would not have been acceptable to any fan if it was an Eagles or a Sixers. Scheduled losses, we crushed Doc Rivers constantly for it. But it's okay for the Phillies to do it. It's okay for Rob Thomson to schedule a loss. I don't understand double standards. And this Philadelphia Phillies fan base and media and sports opinionated people on social media have double standards when it comes to the Phillies and everybody else. And it drives me freaking nuts. No need for double standards. None. No. Zero. Zilch. If you don't like a scheduled loss in one sport, you can't accept it in another sport. What did momentum do for the 10-1 Eagles last season? I hear you. They lost that momentum. Well, they let loss 2, magnifying loss 3, magnifying to loss 4, magnifying loss 5. 162 games. I know. It's a long season. Everyone says it's a long season. No. 82 games is a long season. I get it, in a 17-game football season, it's a little different. But basketball and hockey are long seasons. It's not acceptable there. Why is it acceptable? I don't want to hear that it's a long season excuse. I don't. I think it's a bogus excuse for allowing yesterday to happen. So most Native Americans didn't care about the names. A few mad a name change as a way to show how bad they have it. Yeah, I don't know about all this stuff. But guys, anyway, if you haven't already, make sure you hit that like button, that share button, that subscribe and follow button. You're watching Training the AM on Edge of Philly Sports. 7-day-a-week programming. Look at today's lineup on Thursday here. You got Football Stories Live, Brian Baldinger's magazine and team. Philadelphia Sports Disorder at 6. Fly Like an Eagle with Mitchie Poo at 7:15. Phillies Braves post-game show after the game. There is 7-day-a-week programming on this channel, so make sure you're locked and loaded to Edge of Philly Sports. What do we got here? A whole bunch more comments. All about the name changes. Yeah, they went from the Redskins, though, to the Commies. That's really good. Fans need to be careful what they speak into existence. Fans last season were unhappy because the Eagles were, quote, were winning ugly. Yeah. So the sports god said, okay, you're not happy with winning ugly. Then here, I said it. I said it didn't matter how you win, ugly or pretty. I hear you on that one. We agree on this statement here. I agree, Barbara. If you're going to do it, you got to do it all. Chief isn't offensive. If the Eagles changed their name to Philadelphia Blacks or Whites, we'd have a problem. Ohio gave us J.D. Rockefeller and Paul Brown. So there's that. The 10-1 Eagles team came back from the bye week and asked Nick, can we stop playing this vanilla preseason offense? And he replied, I got nothing. Yeah. It's a great take, Rick. Yeah, look, me and Rick are disagreeing to an extent today, but we also do agree in principles. I just specifically can't stand how yesterday went and how Rob Thomson stands in front of the microphone. I don't care that Luke says, he can't say that it's not his call. No. Rob Thomson yesterday could have said after that game, no, that's it. No more Taijuan Walker starting. What we'll do with him, I don't know. We'll deal with that in the next few days. But no more Taijuan Walker. He could have said that. He could have said and sent a message, not acceptable. But no. He didn't do that. He left the door open for another Taijuan Walker start in 5 days. That's what he did. Are we really trying to make this the most controversial conversation of all time? Talking about Native American names and this? No. We're not having controversial talks today. Exactly. Look, we're not going to get into all that. Anyway, guys, we got to start the wrap-up process here. We definitely got to start the wrap-up process. We're already 2 minutes into overtime here. I want to give a special shout-out to Ed Kracz again, at Kracz, Kracze, on Twitter, SI.com. That's where you find his articles. He does a fantastic job. The fans should have already revolted, Rick. But it's a long season, so you don't have to revolt. And that is my problem, Rick. That's my problem. You put out there negative energy and expect not to get negative results back. Yeah, exactly. Glad to see you back, Barbara. Football season's back, which I love. Best morning sports show in the land. Hey, thank you, Rick. I love that. What I love about this show is somebody like Rick today. Me and Rick don't see eye to eye today, but we've had a discussion. We've debated because while I say all opinions matter, I don't always agree, but all opinions have their opportunity to be heard right here. That's why Trending in the AM is the #1 sports morning show. Often duplicate it or often imitate it, never duplicate it. Everybody thinks they could do what we do here, but they don't. I appreciate each and every one of you tuning in every day. Yeah, exactly. It's always, this is the way we end every show. We'll be back tomorrow. We're going to go over, I'm going to try to get every single NFL team record prediction done today at work if I'm not too busy. Might not have time to do a graphic, but we'll see. With that being said, guys, we got to wrap this up here today. I do got to go to work, unfortunately. So, as we say at the end of every show, like, share, subscribe, retweet, follow on all social media platforms. Ring the bell. Go Birds, and bubbles up to you.